me. I did not come 8,000 kilometers, only 3,000. And I had agreed with the organizers that I talk about the Ethiopian security services. This is a vast subject. In 20 minutes, I can only scratch the surface. If there were the time, I could talk the whole day and probably as well into the next day as well about the Ethiopian security services. So bear with me that I only present some of the basic points, and maybe in the discussion you can ask detailed questions on points of interest for you. If I leave out things which you consider to be important, please keep in mind the time limits. As it was said, by profession I'm a historian and ethnologist, and I had been working most of my working life not in academic institutions but as an independent consultant and researcher, author, publicist, political analyst, which brought me invariably in trouble with bad governments. I was banned from entering Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Libya, Liberia, Eritrea, and since 2000 I'm banned from Ethiopia after I was given 24 hours notice to leave the country. When I was called to the security, I politely thanked them for the honor because 24 hours is usually given to expelled charged affairs. So that put me on a very high level. Usually for a number of reasons, among other things having to do with my private life, I do not go much public. I write expert reports in asylum cases in the UK, all over Europe, in the USA. In the last 5 years I have written about 320 reports, so that is a lot of work. But every once in a while I feel compelled, because it is impossible to keep silent in the face of certain facts, to go as a public with certain aspects of my knowledge. I know that in my line of work sometimes you have to make compromises, but I have decided for myself that two days of compromises in the week is enough, so that at the other 5 days I can look in the mirror in the morning and not be ashamed of myself. So therefore I agreed to come to this conference and to present that, even so I'm fairly certain that this will have, let's say, certain repercussions on my evaluation of my person by the concerned services. So concerning the Ethiopian security services, the basic points. As in all countries with autocratic or dictatorial regimes, the Ethiopian National Security and Intelligence Service is probably the most efficient government organ. It is the poorer a country, the more likely that the government as a service is the best financed and the most efficient one. Well, in a well-developed country like Norway or Germany or America, the other government organs receive more funding and are probably even more efficient than the security services. But in a country like Ethiopia, it is a reverse. That is something that has to be kept in mind. Evaluators of asylum requests often tend to conclude from the fact that Ethiopia is a poor country, that the Ethiopian security is also totally underdeveloped and poor and totally inefficient, which is not the case. They are more on par with Western institutions than any other service. The Ethiopian National Security as an office, National Security and Intelligence as a service, operates within Ethiopia and outside of Ethiopia. A lot of poor countries, or practically all countries, have national security and intelligence services. That's part of government business probably since the time of the first Mesopotamian city-states. But not every poor state in the world has external branches of its security. But dictatorial regimes which have to deal with the opposition based in diaspora usually have large and very effective external branches of the national security and intelligence. The Ethiopian state had an active external intelligence branch, well, probably since the 30s, It was very active during the monarchy. Haile Selassie was closely monitoring the activities of the Ethiopian student movement, the worldwide student movement. The Derg regime was having a very active external branch which tried in 1982 to kill me with a letter bomb. And the opposition organizations to the Derg, including the TPLF, had also very effective external branches, monitoring their own members and monitoring the external branches of other Ethiopian political organizations which the TPLF considered as potential enemies, competitors for power after the toppling of the Derg. So they were present within the external the community. Today, the Ethiopian National Intelligence and Security Service has the most sophisticated and up-to-date electronic equipment at its disposal. Since 1997, the national security embarked, or the Ethiopian government embarked on a very extensive and costly program of computerizing all the various aspects of security work in Ethiopia to the tune of 30 million birr annually. This program is still running. Under this program, all the old files of the Ethiopian security, including the ones the new security office created after 91 by the TPLF, which they inherited from the former Derg, were computerized. And every new person, every new file established on a person as coming into contact with the security is added to it. The Ethiopian national security today has at its disposal a vast database on approximately 4 to 5 million Ethiopians who have come in one way or the other under suspicion of being actual or potential enemies of the current government of Ethiopia. This coming to attention might have been simply a rumor or a denunciation or observation made by an official, but once you are in this database, you stay there for your life. I mean, that is common as with all other security services worldwide. But in Ethiopia in particular, there is a culture, paper or paper-like documents, like electronic files today, have a certain sacrosanct aura, because in the past, in Ethiopian culture, documents were linked to the church. Funnily enough, when the Derg fell, they didn't destroy the security files, which in most countries the security service would have done when pushed from power. So the TPLF inherited the complete set of files the Derg had accumulated on many Ethiopians. They have their own as the files. Once you are there, you are never expunged. It might be inactive, but today, with this data gathering and data evaluating as a methods available, when a name comes to the attention of the security, whether inside Ethiopia or outside, the name is cross-referenced, traced, searched, and linked. And if, let's say, 15 years ago, the same person as I had come to the attention of the security because it participated in a student demonstration or spoke out at a public meeting, then suddenly this person becomes a long-time hardened enemy because two events separated by a wide gulf of time are linked in these bases, and then with the paranoid mindset of the Ethiopian government and security officials, and these persons kind of move up 2 or 3 notches in the threat potential. Today, I mean, it is frightening what kind of equipment the national security has today, but fortunately for the victims, the possible victims, there are limitations on the efficiency of this national security service. One thing is, there is a certain lack of trained manpower or women power to really do the continuous evaluation and necessary checkup, cross-referencing of the incoming information. So there is a certain backlog in handling this information. Secondly,